Welcome to Happy Port Radio, the Circular Economy Technology podcast, where, together with leading experts, thinkers and doers, we explore the intersection of technology and the circular economy. I'm Barry, the founder of Happy Port, where we provide software engineering expertise for a more circular economy.
And my name is Jo. I help purpose-driven and circular businesses turn their vision into a strategy and story that moves people to act. In this episode, we are joined by Valentin Lheureux, founder of HomeCycle, a French startup renting household white goods like washing machines and dryers, bundled with repair and more.
One of the things that stood out for me in our conversation is this recurring theme of how technology for these business models is still a challenge. There's more and more great platforms and people working to solve this part of the challenge, yet HomeCycle still couldn't quite find, and he describes in the conversation how he couldn't quite find the ideal tool for some aspects of the operational that he needs to do. I'm always observing that technology is an enabler and maybe isn't the most critical challenge within the business yet, but should be helping to solve those challenges, and it shouldn't be yet another hurdle in the way. So for those of us working on the technology aspect of circularity, there's still a lot more to do. What did you think, Jo?
Yeah, it was a really interesting conversation. One of the things I think that stood out for me was this concept of having to go beyond rental in terms of what you're offering the customer, really transitioning from not just offering a product, but also offering a service, or should we say an experience. So alongside offering, for example, the washing machine itself, also offering cleaning services, maintenance services, to make it not just a product solution, but also a practical solution to some of life's challenges.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he describes that really, really well in this conversation. And so without any further ado, let's meet Valentin.
Hello, my name is Valentin. I'm the COO of a company called HomeCycle. We are a French company and we offer rental in B2C and B2B for big household appliances. Washing machine, dryers, refrigerators. Also, we are starting to investigate for all the wine cellar that is also in this category. But we are speaking about heavy and big products.
Things that are difficult to get up the staircase.
Exactly. And also really indispensable products. If we take, for example, the coronavirus situation, these products were really labeled as really important products. And so you could still buy them if you need it during this period. Just to give an idea, but today in France, I don't know exactly in the other countries, but I guess it's almost the same. But these products are in 99% of all families. So really, we are on really important product for the daily life.
Perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about how you came to set up the business. When did that happen? Why did that happen? What was it that you saw that needed to change? Tell us a little bit about your backstory.
So in order maybe to understand why we decided with my co-founder to found HomeCycle, I will go a little bit back in the history. So I started to work just after my studies in like a big player in France, a big retailer, which is called Boulanger. And they are really like a leader in France. And I started there as a product engineer. So I was developing product for the private label and it was really fun and I learned a lot of things. But then I changed and I was a buyer for them. So I was really witnessing the situation where I had my customer in store that was asking me to have less and less expensive products, but more and more qualitative. And then as a buyer, I had to go to see the manufacturers and I was there like, okay, I need to have the best price as possible, but the best product as possible. And so I was witnessing like this really equation, really this linear economy where at one point I was telling myself it cannot be sustained in the long run, to start to put some pressure on the manufacturer to do better products and also to have, if possible, the cheapest products at the same time in order to really, as the situation is difficult for French people, to have, let's say, the best bargain and offer a qualitative for the best price. So at this point, it started to grow in my mind, okay, how we could do it differently. And so I started to dig a little bit about the circular economy, about the, I don't know exactly how we say in English, but the economy of functionality and cooperation. So I started to dig these fields and I still was working for Boulanger and I had the opportunity to move to another city called La Rochelle in France. because my wife had a big opportunity over there. And when I went in La Rochelle, I met my co-founder, Valentin, who is the founder of a startup studio called Jumanji 2030. They were thinking about that. They were thinking about rental. They were thinking about the circular economy of use. And we decided to, after many iterations, but we decided to start HomeCycle to offer the rental because we really thought, well, we still think that, okay, we need to change the way this market is functioning, is working, because it cannot be sustained in the long run to have pressure on one side on the manufacturer and the other side, the pressure from the customer. I really believe that, okay, maybe we still have some years ahead of us to work like that, but it cannot be sustained in the long run.
Interesting. And how did people respond to it in France in particular? Because I know Barry's in Scotland, I'm in the Netherlands. Every country is different. And it's interesting to understand more about how it is in France. What's the attitude to renting? Also, perhaps, what's your typical customer? Who are those people?
Yeah, the question is interesting because from my point of view, from what I can see in France, is that there are different speeds depending on the category and depending on the generation in terms of adoption of the rental. The rental in France is working quite well for all the mobility, let's say scooters, cars, but also about the multimedia products like smartphones, TVs. I would say that for this kind of category, all the different actors are quite well structured. That means that you have people for every step of the value chain. People are more and more eager to rent smartphones, to rent their car, to rent scooters, to rent bikes. So I would say that in this category, it's growing quite well, and there are more and more people, especially because we see young generation being a little bit less in need to possess products. So we see a real trend. For white goods, where we are, it's a bit different. There is still quite good traction, but the approach for the rental is a bit different because we are less on a statutory, there is less status linked to this kind of products. You don't renew your washing machine every 2 years or every 3 years to get the last model. So the approach is a bit different. It's maybe a little bit more about the services that we can offer around the rental and the different actors around the value chain. I don't know, maybe the manufacturer, maybe the financial institution, if you have one. They still really don't know how to approach it because you don't have residual value linked to the product. There is not like a real secondary market that is structured for the white goods. And so you cannot have the same, let's say, mechanism as what you have in the multimedia. So we see a good trend. There is traction. We see that the manufacturers, the financial institution, the retailers, all of them, okay, how could we do it for the white goods? Because we see that there is something that we can do, but it's not still well defined on how to do it. So that's really interesting because we are at the beginning of, I think, a big trend that is coming, a big revolution.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think this also ties in with what we were talking about yesterday, Barry, which is the transition towards not just buying a product, but also having an experience. So here in the Netherlands, bol.com, one of the appliance retailers, well, they're an online platform selling all sorts of things. They've also just introduced renting of washing machines, but also that they provide free energy for 2 hours a day, which is an interesting concept because it then goes way beyond just the product and really into the kind of experience space. I think, is that what you've also seen in France, that there's a transition with the younger generation towards wanting more of an experience, not just a product?
Yeah, completely. Actually, today, from what I can see, and especially for the white goods, we need to go beyond just we rent a product. Is because if you do it like this, you could be like labeled as like, I don't know, but you just finance the product for the people that cannot afford it. And to be honest with you, at HomeCycle, this is something that we are trying to avoid because this is not what we want to do. We do not want to be an option to finance your product. And so that's why the experience is really important. And that's why also all the services that you can bring around the rental are also super important for us because it needs to be a complete package and it needs to be worth it for a customer because the rental can sometimes be at the end a little bit more expensive than if you buy the product on the shelf, let's say. And that's why we need to bring more services. We need to bring, for example, in our case, for all the length of the rental, the product is warranted for repair. You have someone is coming to your house in 2 to 3 days to repair the product. If the product is not repairable, we replace it. And we have many ideas of other services that we can bring to the table in order to really worth it and to not just, okay, you cannot afford this product, rent it like this, you can afford it. This is not what we want to do.
And this ties into your mission to simplify people's lives. And maybe we could just touch briefly on who is the typical customer then? Because I think that one of the big questions that people will ask in this space, who is your typical customer? Who wants this?
Completely. It's interesting because when we started HomeCycle, we had some like personas in mind, like maybe the student, maybe the people that come to a country for only 2 to 3 years and need to rent the product. And in the end, to be honest with you, of course, we touch them, but these are not our main main clients. The main one today for HomeCycle is first someone that do not want to face the burden to handle a repair, to handle the delivery and the installation, to handle what should I do if my product is not working anymore. Because once you add it in your life, you don't want to handle it anymore because you don't know what you have to do. So first is that. And the second one that is also the same person, but the first, let's say, motivation is this one. And the second one is, okay, a product, when it breaks down, most of the time, it's not when you planned it. And so you have to buy a new product. And when you look at the market, okay, 600 euros, 500 euros, 800 euros. And you're like, okay, I would prefer to go on holiday with my children with this money than just like putting all the money in the washing machine. And so we have people that decide, okay, I want to have still a good product, qualitative product that is beautiful in my kitchen or in another room. And so I will use the rental because I see the services and I see that they can have access to a better product than what I would have bought in the traditional market. These are the two main reasons. And unfortunately, I don't know if it's unfortunately, but today we mainly have women that buy a product in HomeCycle.
You also mentioned that you're looking at B2B as well. So how different is that and how relevant is that for you at this stage?
Yeah, that's true. So when we started HomeCycle, we focused on the B2C because we were really there to try to change consumption habits, to change this like market and bring really like a different solution. We have a big challenge in the B2C is where maybe we'll discuss a little bit deeper after, but it's how do we finance the product? And the fact that we go in B2B, it's much more easier to finance product when we go in B2B relation. So that's one of the elements that pushed us to try to have a look at the B2B market. Secondly, that was interesting when we started the interviews with, I don't know, maybe co-working space, co-living spaces. We started to see that actually they were facing quite similar issue as a normal, let's say, client in B2C. They needed to have a quick repair. They needed to have qualitative product. And we saw that the service that we were offering could really like work for B2B partners. And actually it went quite fast because as soon as we started, we managed to have some partnership with co-living spaces, co-working spaces, and that decided that they would prefer to rent the product because they were benefiting of all the services that we could provide. And also sometimes for some of them, let's say the smallest one, when they need to buy for a house that they just built, they need to buy 3 washing machines, 2 fridge, 2 dryers, having this product, not needing to amortize them, but having directly in the operational cost. So some of them, it was making a difference.
So the type of customers would be like universities, old people's homes, student accommodation. How could we see that? Those kind of places, right?
Yeah, those kind of places. Because today, to be honest with you, in B2B, there are B2B partners, B2B companies that need products that are not professional products. They use domestic products. And you have some companies like, for example, restaurant, hotel that use professional products. And today we are not able to address professional products. So we decided to focus for B2B growth on the companies that use domestic products because this is the one that we are able. But maybe in the future, I mean, for all the student accommodation and all of that, there are really like interesting things to do also with the rental, because at the end, for some companies, it can bring a lot of cost just to buy the product and a lot of cost to maintain the product.
Is this something that is more relevant to people living in cities or high density populated areas? Or if we look at the landscape of France, for example, where are your customers?
Our customers are mainly in cities, but we see that we have customers also quite far from cities. And that's interesting because when we discuss with them, they also need to have the services that we could provide to the cities. And sometimes they are even more, left behind from the traditional companies. So that's super interesting. And that's why we decided to address all the territory, all France in terms of delivery. That means that we don't have any exclusion because we wanted to give also the opportunity to people that maybe are a little bit more remote to still have access to qualitative product and to still have access to the services of repair and not just like offering this service to people that live in city. I don't know why, but it's more people living in cities that today are renting our product.
And what would you say is your biggest challenge? You're in a startup in terms of developing the technology, or in terms of any challenge, actually, because maybe the challenge isn't developing the technology, maybe it's actually developing that traction with people.
Yeah, for us in rental startup, the biggest challenge is how do we finance the product? How do we manage to purchase the product? And technology, of course, is one, but I will go on this topic maybe just after because it's really interesting. But the main challenge is, okay, how do I manage to have products? Because to be honest with you, the traction is there. And in our situation is more that how are we able to have enough products to answer the demand? Why is that? Because today, if we go deeper on that, I see 4 ways to finance product, let's say, purchase product. The first one is, okay, you have a big amount of cash. You are able to raise money every 6 months and you manage to purchase the product as you would purchase in a B2B relation and then we rent it. And you have enough money to wait for the 12, 16 months to find your money back. Second way is you could have private investors that invest in SPVs, special purpose vehicle, and you give them back some cash from the rental of the product that they purchased. Third way that is quite common is, okay, you have a financial institution that jump into your economic model. And so when you have a rental, actually you sell them the product and they own the asset and they collect the subscription. And the last one, which is the one that we really fight for in HomeCycle, and this is the one that we think it's the royal way, let's say the best way, is to partnership directly with the manufacturer to work in share revenue. And this one for us is the best way to do rental because you really have an alignment of all the value chain. Because as you incentivize the manufacturer to the revenue that you do, he's starting to think, okay, how can I give you a better product that lasts longer, that is more repairable? Because with you, if we are able to rent it 2 to 3 times, I will win more money. But this one is the biggest challenge because when you go to your manufacturer and you talk about that, they look at you with big eyes. I don't know how to do it. I just sell the product to the retailer. So that's super interesting.
That's interesting as well because it links to you saying your motivation, I guess, for starting the business as well, tying it all together.
Yeah, exactly. And this is super interesting when we start to have discussion with manufacturer where they say, okay, if it starts to grow, maybe we could start to think about building a product that is made for rental, the product that is really repairable, really durable, with maybe some pieces that are easy to replace from the customer himself. So for me, it brings all the motivation that we have to do this kind of business because in this kind of discussion, you are really changing all the value chain and all the perception of the different actors.
And it's massively connected to repair, right? If we think about the circular economy and the circular ladder, I think in this case, this is really good because it does connect to building a product that can be repaired as well as the rental side of things as well. How do you manage the repair side of things?
So, well, in our ambition, as we have like the circularity in our DNA, every product that arrives at the end of its rental period, we get back the product and we refurbish it and we want to re-rent it. This is in the case where the product can be re-rent. Sometimes we get product back and they are really like in a really bad shape. And so we are only getting like the spare parts or even sometimes we cannot do anything with it. And so we put it like in the right, let's say, flow to go to be destroyed, unfortunately. This is for like the refurbishment. That's interesting because in France, the refurbishment is really starting to grow. There are more and more startups that are working around that. So we have alternatives to partner with some people, some companies to refurbish the product. So during the rental, we also partner with companies that are already quite well installed in France that have an average between 50 to 100 repair guys. I don't know exactly how we could call them, but repair guys are all around France. And so as soon as we have like a customer that is telling us, okay, something strange is happening with my washing machine. First of all, we do a phone call to directly diagnose if there is something to do. Could it be just like something that we could change directly on the phone? Or, okay, we have someone that needs to go to the house with a spare part. This is also a challenge for the spare part. And that goes there and then that repair the product. And so we are able with these partners to have The phone call, we do it directly, the same day we have the request. But the repair, approximately after the phone call, in 2 to 3 days, we have someone that is able to go to the house or to the apartment.
That's the really valuable part there as well, is often when something breaks and I don't know what's wrong, can I fix it? Is it going to be expensive? Do I have to replace it? So the simplification, that's the service part. That's where it's worth paying for a little bit, what you're describing.
Exactly. This is something that we really insist. We try to insist in our website, in our ads, when we want to acquire a new customer. We really offer, you have an amount that you pay every month. But in this amount, everything is warranted. You do not have to worry about the repair. You do not have to worry if the product is not working anymore. We are going to do it for you. We go back to, okay, we want to really simplify people's life. I think life is already quite stressful. We have many things to handle. You have to handle the children. You have to handle, all of that. And so we don't want to be additional things to handle. We really want it to be smooth, really easy. And okay, you rent the product and you know that you have one phone number. You have an issue, you call, someone is answering, and we provide you already a first answer. Okay, someone needs to come. He will come in 2 days. You have the appointment that is done. And okay, you already know that this is handled and you could go on your life.
I was just thinking about one of the things that would be nice is that someone would come and clean my washing machine. The inside of the glass gets dirty and the drawers where you put all of the soap and everything gets dirty. I would like someone to clean it for me once in a while.
To be transparent with you, this is something that we provide only for B2B at this point. We are working on it for our classical consumer, for the B2C. Quite expensive, to be honest, today. So that's why today we have more room in a B2B partnership to offer it than a B2C. But why we do that, because I think this point that is interesting, is we have a lot of studies that shows that 60% of the breakdowns that you have on your products in the first 5 years are linked to a lack of cleaning or maintenance of the product. So that's why we are working here whether we are working to try to have the customer to do it on his own, but sometimes he don't know how to do it. To do it, you have to do that and all of that. And we are trying to find a way. We are not the solution today, but to gamify it a little bit, to make it fun, maybe to incentivize a little bit the customer on, okay, you washed your washing machine. Okay, maybe we can give you that. And there, if we manage to either have the customer to do it, or maybe at one point, if we have the right volumes, to have someone that goes in the home to maybe just change some parts that could be more fragile. We know that they are fragile. And we know that at the end of the rental, we will get back product that will be in better shape, and we really augment the probability to rent it again. And also, we have a better product, not a better product, but we have a clean product for the customer. So we know that he's going to be happy, to continue to be happy using this product. This is one of the challenges also that we have, is this one. Yeah, it's really important for us.
That's really interesting. I just wanted to segue a little bit and to talk a little bit about how they organize all of that. And this is me thinking about the technology, because that's obviously one of the angles that we're really interested in, is how you operate and how you manage all of that. You mentioned the data and gathering things like, we know that 60% of machine is because of lack of maintenance and cleaning. So I guess across the whole business, how are you looking at how you deliver the operations, what tech stack you need, how you gather that data? How does all that look for you?
Yeah, to be honest, it's difficult. Why? So as we are a small company, small startup, we don't have unlimited resources. And so we have to use tools that already are existing on the market. RPs, the CRM, all of that. But what's super interesting is that as we are trying to bring to scale a new model, the tools that we use are made for the classical e-commerce. So that they are really good for a classical purchase, and then you never hear about the customer anymore. Here, in our position in the rental, it's not the customer that it's important. Of course, he is important, but what's really important is the asset, is the product. To be able to track, okay, this product was in this house during 6 months, then you get it back, you refurbished at this place, and then you put it in another house, and then you add a repair. And to be able to have all the life of the product, and even if you push it further, is to have the return on investment for this product. And there is, to my knowledge, to be honest with you, no real tool existing today that brings you this view. And that's super interesting, because we see that even some software that says that they are for the rental, actually, most of them, they built their software on the model of rental where you were sending boxes every month.
Subscription types, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not the same again, because when we send the product to the house, then we don't send anything else. And we need to be able to keep contact with the customer to understand, okay, how's the product going? Everything is going well for you? Yes, okay. Do we need to do some maintenance? And all this follow-up, all this tracking the product and following the product on all its life, today the tools are not really addressing it. We see that it's starting to emerge. We see some software are starting to, build some features and all of that. But to my knowledge, again, I have not seen any software that have been built with this in its DNA. This is a challenge for us because we use many tools, too much tools, to try to take best of each tools and to make our own sauce, let's say. And it's not perfect. And maybe sometimes it's also retaining us a little bit back because we cannot really execute the operation.
That's really interesting. And we talked yesterday about AI. And I think because everybody's talking about AI, it would also be good to hear from you how you're using AI to develop, and also some of these bottlenecks and problems that you're having, which is holding you back. Is there an AI solution that could actually facilitate that process for you and speed things up?
Yes, to be honest with you, today we use AI mainly for specific problem that we could face. And let's say, for example, we want to build an automation to really ease a flow of purchase of all of that. And we are going to use the AI to help us to code a few small automation. This is, let's say, the first part. Then we have some reflection, some thoughts about how AI could help us to prevent breakdowns, how AI could help us to say, okay, this product, you need to go to do a maintenance because this and this happened. But we are really at the beginning, to be honest. And we see that something is coming for the future for the AI and the use of AI in our, let's say, market of the rental. But we are really at the beginning and we are just starting to have some thoughts and some discussion.
That's a nice segue. I'd love to keep the conversation going, but that I'm aware of time as well. Just thinking about, for you, what is the future? You're at this early stage, you're building traction, you're very clear on your mission, you're a B Corp. We didn't get a chance to talk about that. But tell us a little bit about what are your plans? What are your ambitions for the next period of time?
Yeah. The ambition is for us is really to be known in France as the specialist of big household appliances rental. What is super interesting is that we see that people that launch themselves into the rental, when they start with smartphone, they start with multimedia product, they start with small household appliances, and then they see big household appliances and they see many challenges. The product is big, transportation is hard. The renewal, as we said, is not, quite often, not, really frequent. And to be honest with you, we decided to go for the hard path and telling ourselves, okay, we think that we could crack it with time. But if we crack it, we are really going to be the specialist of the rental of big household appliances. So really the ambition is this one. And to achieve this ambition, we have to be able to build partnership with the most famous brands of household appliances in the share revenue model, really to change the industry, to be honest with you. We want to see really further and really with high ambition, we want to change the way the manufacturer sees the market. And we really want to be a strong option for them to say, okay, I could sell it to a retailer. I will still sell it to a retailer because the retailers are big actor and they are really doing their job well, if I can say. But okay, I have another option, which is working with HomeCycle, or maybe it would be another company, but where it brings more sense to my team, it brings more sense to my CSR policy, and we are really doing something good for people, and we are changing our industry in the right way.
Outstanding. I love that. And the fact that you've chosen the hard route and that mission, I think that's wonderful. I would love to have a further conversation to dig into some of the specifics and deeper things there. You mentioned the financing and the different vehicles for financing and the technology challenges and the scaling challenges. So maybe we can have you back on in the future to update on the progress and the successes you've had.
With pleasure. Yeah, with pleasure.
And then just finally, for those listening who want to find out more about what you do or get in touch, where do they go?
If they want to get in touch with me, of course, they could go on LinkedIn and just connect with me. Usually I answer quite quickly. And if they want to have a chat, I'm always eager to have a chat and to learn from people. And because sometimes this is at this moment that you have some ideas. But if they want to learn more about HomeCycle, of course, they can go on our website. It's HomeCycle FR in France. I hope in some years we will be able to distribute also maybe in the other countries.
Wonderful. Thank you. As usual, we'll share those links and all the show notes and transcript on happyporchradio.com. Thank you so much for joining us. Really enjoyed the story, and good luck with the future of HomeCycle.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoy and benefit from these conversations, please help us share with others. Just take a moment to rate and review on your favourite podcast app. Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by happyporch.com. Whether you need bespoke software development, fractional CTO support, or just expert advice, Happy Porch is here to support your circular economy initiatives. If you're driving innovation and circularity, we'd love to chat. Your hosts were Barry O'Kane and Joe Weston. Barry is a software engineer, leader, and entrepreneur with over 20 years' experience. He founded Happy Porch to help you create web and software solutions that support the shift to a regenerative circular economy. Joe helps purpose-driven and circular businesses turn their vision into a brand and story that moves people to act. She works with teams at tipping points, ready to scale or reposition for greater impact.